I think it's an institution at this point. I think it should be on the Boston walking tour with the History Trail.
Every week's kind of the same. It involves a lot of alcohol and a lot of dancing.
I've been going to the Pill ever since I turned 21, and I got the tail end of it when I was at the Upstairs Lounge.
It was above. What was it above?
What street was it on? It was above the penalty box.
Yeah, above the penalty box. The first time I went, I was young. I was probably underage, using a fake ID.
And it was dirty and filthy and grimy and fun.
It was a little bit of a speakeasy, mostly because of the location. I mean, we did it above the penalty box on North Station, which was called the Upstairs Lounge. I met Jen just at the local kind of hangouts, as far as people that were into, you know, the Britpop scene in the late '90s. Also, you know, the mod scene. It was pretty big back then, as far as like 60s soul.
He just moved here. He didn't really know what nights were going around. He's a huge Britpop fan. Somebody passed out a flyer for Parliament at Sugar Babies. After a couple of gin and tonics, we, started bragging about our amazing music collections and how we could, we could combine forces and make this amazing night. The bartender was actually the manager, and he overheard us, and he said, "Well, this is not really going anywhere. Do you want to audition?" I think we had 80 people that night. From then we were hired.
The Pill just had a certain kind of energy that lacked everywhere else that I went. You were able to fill the room and sell it out and pack it out with a very small cluster of people who were religious in the scene and who would come every week.
These were all stuff that I was playing, I was very passionate about, and there really weren't any venues that were playing it, at least in Boston.
Back in the 90s, before there was the internet, or back before, websites and fucking MySpace and all this other stuff, I mean, you would have to go out to get into new music.
You had amazing stuff coming out every week. It was just like, okay, I have the new Blur single, we have to play it. I got the advanced copy of Disco 2000. Like, we have to play it tonight, and everyone just went nuts.
The driving force was the music. The driving force is at 1:30 in the morning when you're drunk off your head and you're dancing, listening to Common People or fucking Animal Nitrate or something like that. And I think that was the unifying bond.
We really started to hit our stride around like 99, 2000. The Verve were playing on a Saturday show at Avalon. The Enemy and the Melody Maker, when the Melody Maker was still around, came into town. They randomly were like, let's see if we can find an indie night to go to. They opened up the Phoenix, and we weren't even advertising, but we did have those little blurbs on the club listings.
To me, The Enemy was the magazine that broke the Beatles.
They said, oh yeah, we're here to cover the Verve, and I talked to a couple of the journalists, and then next thing I know, about 2.5 weeks later, both the Melody Maker and the Enemy, the first 2 to 3 paragraphs are about the Pill. They were really impressed, thankfully, with the night.
I mean, we started the night in '97. I think '97 was the year that Britpop was declared dead. So, I mean, you couldn't tell that to us, but so having those articles was, we quoted them often in flyers, and it definitely meant the world to us. I had been done for a while, and then basically poor Ken didn't decide to leave the Upstairs Lounge. The door was locked one night, and that was it.
Got a phone call from the bar owner's girlfriend, who was a bartender at the Pill, and she just called and said, you're all set, you're done.
Across the street from us, it was called 119 Merrimack, and it was a members-only gay club that the building was being raised. And so once that building went down, the owners of the gay club went across the street to the upstairs lounge and said, hey, look, we know you sell out Friday nights, but we can sell it out every night of the week. You gotta get rid of your Friday night. And they kicked us to the curb, and they didn't really give a fuck. There wasn't even a final night, final get together. Now the upstairs lounge is pretty empty, and you know.